Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Stephanie Bree, and I know what you're thinking. Bree, you've done this video before. No. I've talked about cable television and network television and cable TV memories and VHS memories. I've never talked about television sets. Never. Not in this context. You know, I mean, obviously I mention television sets when I'm talking about anything television related, but let's talk about my personal TV set memories and also the evolution of television sets. As I've mentioned a bajillion times before, beating a dead horse, we grew up poor. So, we started out, Mom was working, part-time at an egg farm, doing babysitting in her off days, and Dad was bagging groceries at a local grocery store. Small town grocery store. So we didn't have a ton of money. Neither one of those were full-time jobs. Neither one of them came with big-ass bankrolls. So, in this time, we had exactly 2 televisions in our house. We had this little box TV about this big that was yellow bubble. It was a yellow bubble piece of plastic that sat on the kitchen counter. This was us, the kids. This was our family TV that we all watched together as a family. And then there was a small, one of those little standard, wood panel, plastic bubble, square TVs with the rabbit ears and the dial knobs on the side, black and white piece of shit, that we sat on top of a TV tray because we didn't have furniture. And, that was in the kids' room. And we're little at this point. Babies. Me and my sisters. Babies. 3, 4, 5-year-olds. So we were sharing a bedroom at this point. That was the kids' TV. Obviously, it was black and white. That was the TV we watched Saturday morning cartoons on. I'd go to my cousin's house. They had a very similar looking TV to ours. Just little box, rabbit ears. Theirs was also black and white. This was the 80s. So when people say, oh yeah, color TVs came out in the 60s or whenever. Yeah, but poor people were still watching black and white TV in the 80s. They were. We were. Because color TVs were still expensive. And by the way, these TVs were not purchased at Sears. They were purchased at, yard sales and Goodwill stores. Pawn shops, maybe. Or given, hand-me-downs. Grandma bought a new TV and handed down a TV to the kids. Stuff like that. We didn't, go into the store and buy a new TV. We didn't have that kind of money. In, I want to say 1986 or 7, I'm maybe 5 or 6 years old, somewhere in that ballpark. Maybe 5. I don't know how old I am. Let's see. About 5 or 6. 4 or 5, somewhere in there. Somewhere in that ballpark, Dad gets a better job. He goes to work at a bus factory. Now he's got a paycheck for the first time in, my life. Very limited life at this point, but we have money. We're still not we're not up to Roseanne levels of money yet. We're not there. We're still, so poor that they don't make TV shows about people that poor. But we're not as poor as we were. We, little better off. Finally off the food stamps is the best way to put it. And Dad bought a brand new color TV, 19-inch console wood grain TV from Color Time. Color Time is your rent-a-center place. You go in, you make payments, and they let you take the thing home as long as you make the payments. This was also how we got our microwave and probably how we got the Nintendo, to be honest. I don't know 100%, but I do know that's how we got the VCR, so I assume that's how we got the Nintendo. But anyways, now we had a color TV for the first time. Full color. 19-inch screen, giant console, like fucking at least 27-inch console, sat on the floor. Tabletop, we used it as a tabletop. Well, Dad called it a catch-all, but, dads use that word. They don't know shit, If it's a flat surface, it's going to have dishes on it. That's just the way it works when you have kids. The carpet is a flat surface. I'm just being honest with you. That's how it works. Anyways, so now we had 3 TV sets. So when they made that joke in Back to the Future, you have more than one TV set? It was like, it was actually funny because we finally did have more than one TV set, proper TV set, Didn't have a VCR yet, but I've already told that story, how I got a VCR. That comes later. And then this was our TV for the longest time. We eventually traded the bubble for something. I don't know, gave it to a pawn shop or whatever. We got rid of the bubble in a move or something. And so we had that little square TV me and my sister shared. Now, about the time I was 7 or 8, Mom and Dad were like, hey, because I'm transgender, so I was assigned male at birth. You can fill in the blanks. They're like, hey, we can't have all of 4 kids in the same bed anymore because, we don't want CPS knocking on our door. So they moved me into my own bedroom. Now, the girls, there were 3 of them. I had 2 sisters and the baby, but the baby actually came a year later. The baby came in 88, so this was 87. So, it was my 2 sisters. They got to keep the TV in their bedroom. I got a toy box full of Transformers and He-Man toys. So it was pretty much understood that if Mom and Dad weren't using the TV in the living room, which is where they kept the big console TV, I had first reign. It was basically my TV if Mom and Dad weren't using it. Because my sisters had their own TV in their bedroom. They could go to their bedroom and watch TV. They could not kick me off the big TV in the living room. So they had to sit in their bedroom and watch the black and white TV. I got to sit in the living room and watch the color TV. '88, the baby would come along, and then later in '88, the baby was born in April. By that summer, we got the VCR. The VCR, obviously, hooked up in the living room to the big TV. Sometime in the early 90s, I want to say 90 or 91, sometime around there, my parents bought another small, like, I want to say 15-inch box TV, just a little box TV, console TV. Not console, but just like a little, TV set. Maybe 13 inches, I don't know. I didn't actually measure the fucking things. I'm just going based on memory and my assumptions of television screens. The point is, it wasn't very big. But it was a color TV. So they gave that one to my sisters. And then they gave me the old black and white TV that my sisters had been using. Put that in my bedroom with the Nintendo. They bought a new VCR and gave the old VCR to my sisters. So now we had 2 VCRs. Because we got one, like, I don't know, at a pawn shop or a thrift store or something. Somehow we ended up picking up a second VCR. So my sisters got to keep a VCR with the color TV in their bedroom. And I got the black and white TV with the NES in my bedroom. It was rare we got to bring the NES or the VCR out to the living room to watch. Well, not the VCR, we had one in the living room. But it was rare we got to bring the NES out to the living room to play video games on the big screen in color. That was rare. We didn't get to do that very often. More frequently in the summertime when Mom and Dad were at work, we weren't in school, and my sisters were out playing whatever they did with their friends, and I was playing Nintendo in the living room because that's what I did, because I didn't have friends, because I didn't want friends. My friends were Mario and Megatron. I didn't need friends. So, Around this time, we got another TV set. I got a Sega Genesis for my 12th birthday, 1994, September 7th, 1994, my 12th birthday. And my parents bought me a, I want to say probably 17, 19-inch color TV set for my bedroom. They gave me this TV to go with the Sega Genesis for my birthday, gave the little box black and white TV set back to my sisters because I had 3 sisters by this point. The baby wasn't a baby anymore. She was a kid. My kid sister. And so they had 2 TVs in their bedroom. One that the baby could sit and watch cartoons on, and the other one that was pretty much used for MTV. Or Nickelodeon. Because you had a sister, I had a sister who was 13 at the time, or 14 at the time, and then I had a sister who was 11 at the time, so they were fighting over the TV. They were fighting over Nickelodeon or MTV. And then the baby was watching cartoons, you know, because that's what the baby watched, the kid sister. Most of our TVs up to this point were just like those old school TVs, you know, those like, you know, box TVs, the CRTs. They, you know, they had the bubble, you know, the big bubble on the front, you know, the big ass in the back, you know, they had the coax input. You know, the one that I had in the bedroom and the one mom and dad had in the living room were quote unquote cable ready TVs. In that you could hook the cable into the back and watch TV without a cable box, you know, before cable went digital, but, you know, that comes later. So now everybody had their own TV, basically. You know, there were 2 TVs in my sister's bedrooms, there were 3 girls in my sister's bedroom, so, you know, I had my own TV, mom and dad had a TV in the living room, and they may have had a TV of their own in their bedroom, but we didn't go in mom and dad's bedroom. That was scary. You don't go in mom and dad's bedroom. You just don't, you know. You do it one time, you're traumatized, you never do it again. I'm not going to tell the rest of that story. Anyways, in 96, we moved to Hastings, Nebraska. And in 96, now both of my parents are working full-time jobs. We're a little bit better off. And they bought a brand new TV from Kmart. This was, I don't know, I want to say an RCA or maybe a Sony Trinitron, but I don't think it was the Sony Trinitron because Dad made a big deal when he got the Trinitron. It may have been a Panasonic, I'm not 100%. But it was whatever the big brand was at Kmart in 1996. This was a color TV that sat on top of the now defunct console TV, which was now just a piece of furniture. It was no longer a functional TV set. So that TV went in the living room, and then they moved my younger sister into her own bedroom, and the older sister got moved into a girl's home because she did bad things, got arrested, the courts took her away. So she moved out of the house, so immediately younger sister got her own room, and the baby got her own room. So they each had their own TVs. I gave the NES to the baby when I got the Super Nintendo, and I kept the Genesis in my bedroom, and I kept the Super Nintendo in my sister's bedroom because she liked to play Mario and Kirby and Zelda and whatnot. And I like to play Sega games. You know, I wanted to play Mortal Kombat and Altered Beast and, you know, Shinobi and stuff like that. So, you know, games that were either on Genesis, not Super NES, or better on Genesis in the case of Mortal Kombat because, you know, blood. The Super Nintendo version can eat shit. Anyways, so that was the dynamic around 96 through 97. 98, I got a new TV, gave my TV to my sister, my younger sister, not youngest, the middle sister, gave her my TV, she gave her TV to the baby. We finally got rid of the black and white piece of shit we started out with that we kept way too fucking long. So now everybody in the home had their own color TV, you know. In 2004, and this is very important, in 2004, my dad bought his first DVD player. I got my first DVD player in 2002, so I already had a DVD player, but Dad bought a Trinitron, a Sony Trinitron TV flat screen. Now, it's flat screen, but listen, it's still a CRT, so you remember I said the other ones had the bubble? So they were still making CRT TVs, but they were making flat screen CRT TVs. I know, it's complicated. It was not a high definition TV, but it was kind of. It was primarily 640 by 480 interlaced, primarily. But if you had the cable box and you hooked it up using the component cables, because it did have component cables in the back, it could output a 4x3 1080i picture. So it was pseudo high definition. We didn't have anything that was in high definition at the time. We just had the DVD player, which we did hook up using the component cables because I was a nerd and bought my dad component cables so he could get the most out of his DVD player. And they finally trashed the console TV that we had for ages. And I don't know what they did with the old TV that the Trinitron replaced. I don't fucking remember, because by this point I was an adult. You know, I was working, I was knee deep in video games and Transformers, so I was like doing my own thing. I wasn't really paying that much attention to what everybody else was doing. Younger sister had already gotten married and moved out. Baby sister was engaged and she was getting ready to move out and get married. So when they got married and moved out, they took their TV sets with them. So now we were down to the TV I had in my bedroom and the Trinitron that Dad was super proud of, he kept in the living room. And then, in 2008, my dad bought his first flat screen TV. It was a 32-inch, 720p, widescreen, 16:9 LCD television. I don't remember the brand. Barely remember the specs. But he gave me the Trinitron. Now, I already had a TV, but I wasn't really watching TV anymore at this point. I already had a desktop computer, a laptop computer. You know, I had video games and handhelds and Nintendo DS and everything else. So, television, for me, by this point, was antiquated. It was like old tech. I didn't need that anymore. I was watching my TV shows and movies and stuff on my computer and other things like that. So, a television was... Alright, I have a television. What am I going to do with it? I built it into an arcade cabinet. And I hooked up this old desktop I have, loaded it up with emulators and ROMs, hooked it up using the component cables, using this adapter I had, bought these arcade joysticks off of the eBay, hooked it up, built this arcade cabinet, and I turned it into an arcade machine is what I did with it, because that was the only use I had for the fucking thing. And then I got my first flat screen TV, a 22-inch LED LCD. It was technically 1080p, but it was fucking 22 inches, so it wasn't really 1080p. It had HDMI, it had component. I got a HD DVD player. I got a PS3, which was also a Blu-ray player, but I also had a dedicated Blu-ray player, a Panasonic. The Panasonic Blu-ray player did not have HDMI out. It was an older model. It had component out, so it couldn't even do 1080p technically. But the television was small. I had that TV. That was my first flat screen. I kept it for a long time. And then I replaced it with a 32-inch OLED flat screen TV. And then I turned the previous flat screen TV into a computer monitor, basically. I hooked my desktop up to it. Finally got rid of my last CRT monitor. No longer, tied down to ancient Stone Age television technology. I was finally flat screens all around. Sold the Trinitron at a yard sale. Disassembled the arcade cabinet because I wanted to use the computer for parts because I was selling off the parts to friends of mine who needed them. So I parted out the computer, got a new computer. But by this time, I had firmly become glued to my laptop. I was like, no, laptop is the way to go. So I no longer, I still had a desktop computer, but I barely ever used it. Hardly ever used it. No more CRTs for me. I was finally 100% flat screens. I've had 3 or 4 flat screen TVs since then because they're easy to break and I move a lot. And sometimes I, live on the 3rd floor of an apartment building, and that's a long ways to go when you're crippled and walk with a cane and you have a television set in your arms and shit happens and you need a new TV all of a sudden. Currently, I have a 32-inch OLED flat screen 720p television in the bedroom that I have my PS4 hooked up to via HDMI and my PS3 hooked up to via HDMI. And I have the laptop that I'm making this video on. And that's how I get my entertainment today. I'm just like 100% laptop these days as far as movies and television and YouTube and stuff like that, other than occasionally on my phone if I'm at work and can't take the laptop or whatever. The television in the bedroom is literally just a monitor for my PS4 and my PS3. That's it. That's all it is. It's a gaming TV. I don't watch movies or TV shows on it. Even though it's a bigger screen than my laptop, because the laptop sits on my lap and it's a 4K screen, it's closer to me. It actually has a better picture than my television, my big screen television does. And because it's like right here, it's a better viewing experience, all things considered. Plus, I got the sound bar, the Bluetooth sound bar that I can hook up to the laptop when I want to watch movies, and it sounds much more better than the shitty speakers that are built into the LCD TV. So that's where I am today. The television in my bedroom is not a smart TV, but it doesn't have to be because it's hooked up to a PS4, which is basically a smart device anyways. But again, I don't need it because I literally only use it to play Minecraft. That's pretty much all it is. And because I can play Minecraft on the laptop, I don't spend a lot of time in the bedroom on the TV, in the bedroom on the PlayStation playing Minecraft. I'm going to sit here and play it on the laptop because it's convenient and it's easy and it's right there. Just boot up the Minecraft and play right here on the laptop. Why would I go all the way into the bedroom to play the Minecraft? Well, I do, but, I have to be in, the right mindset for that because I don't want to get off this chair because I want to be on my laptop. Obviously, I could take the laptop with me to the bedroom, but that's tricky because of the way the bedroom's set up and the access to the power cords. And the battery on this thing is old and useless, so it has to stay plugged in pretty much all the time or it doesn't hold a charge. So, yeah, I'm pretty much tethered to my laptop these days. And that's it. That's the entire personal family history of television sets in my house where I was present. Now, my sisters have all gotten married and moved on and done their own things since then. My parents live in Texas. I live in Idaho, so I'm no longer living with them. So I don't really know or care what they're doing anymore with their television sets because I'm not watching their TV sets. I'm not in their house anymore. So, a couple of questions I want to ask. Question number 1, were you poor like us, and did you also have a square black and white TV in the 80s or even in the 90s? Question number 2, did you have one of those gigantic furniture consoles that looks like a, bookshelf, but it's actually a TV? And when did you get your first flat screen TV, and was it HD? And if it was HD, what resolution was it? Was it 720p, 1080i, 1080p, 4K, 3D? What kind of televisions were you fucking around with? Stay cool.